Airsoft GI would like to thank our sponsors.
Hi GI TV, I'm Bob the Axeman Hildebrand. I'm really excited to be back here today because we've got some cool tactical gear on. This is actually the rig from our Predator, one of our Predators, Josh Erickson, who is actually playing on Tim's side at Tim vs. Bob 3. He was actually, apparently it was the first big sort of military simulation event, basically the biggest event he'd ever been to for Airsoft, and from what he's told us, he had one great heck of a time. He was actually shooting and scooting for about the entire day, which is why this rig came in very handy, and also why we want to do tactical gear heads showing his loadout. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what this vest is. First of all, this is a Pantac RRV. It's actually very slim fit, very comfortable, and that's why Josh chose this loadout with that vest. He wanted something that was close to his person, that was not going to get hung up on all that stuff, that he was going to be able to move around the battlefield quickly, and also something that had a lot of side ventilation, but also something, you know, that is very high speed and low drag. So we've got the Pantac RRV. Another big feature on this vest is the actual backpack. This is made by Pantac for the RRV specifically, and what's great about this is that the backpack actually clips into the shoulder straps on here, making it a very solid piece of gear, and honestly, I think it looks really cool. Another thing that complements this loadout that makes it look pretty awesome are these Shellback Tactical Banshee plate carrier shoulder pads. It's actually further up back here. It makes the vest a lot more solid, and also gives you a spot where you can run your hydration cord through, and he's actually using a Camelback hydration system with this, so that's what he's doing for hydration. But as far as carrying his magazines, he's got Blue Force 10-speed pouches. Now this again goes with his design of, you know, having it very close to his body, very flush with his person. And what's great about these magazine pouches is that they're very slim. Once you pull them out, it's actually going to retract into the vest, making it even more contoured to your person. That said, he uses these Magpul PMags. Normally, when he's just at regular events, he'll be using high-capacity magazines. Oops, he said it. But at Mp7 events, he'll be carrying standard mid-cap magazines. He'll also be wearing a battle belt with 4 other mags on there, along with a dump pouch. He made it very clear to me that at Mp7 games he's going to need a dump pouch, which he doesn't normally have. And another thing he doesn't normally have on his gear is a sidearm. He likes his main gun so much, which we'll get into in a second, that he believes that he can load and really not have any downtime between the transitions. So that's just Josh's personal preference. I gotta give credit to him. He has one heck of a great gun build, so we're gonna get to that in a second. Another thing that he has on his vest is this Magpul Mst Sling. This is a piece of gear that I'm actually a big fan of as well. It's got a quick detach system, which I find is very handy, and you can adjust it on the fly using this pull strap. Now, some other gloves, his gloves he uses are actually, I believe these are Oakley SI gloves. Very good looking gloves, rather comfortable, and Josh has made a few modifications, namely cutting off the tip of the index finger and the tip of the thumb right here, so he's more dexterous, and so he can actually grab things with well, I guess just with more dexterity. Now that said, off the field, Josh usually sports a pair of sunglasses. They are electric loveless sunglasses. He also, normally when he's playing Airsoft, has a Magpul hat on. Now he wears that so that he can flip it backwards and put on his Dye i4 face mask, so he'll have top of the head protection as well as face protection. Now speaking of his face mask, this is a Dye i4. Tim is using one of these as well, but because some of us here in the marketing department, Josh, I'm looking at you, are elitists, he wanted me to let you guys know this is the limited edition gold Dye i4. As you can see, there's some gold, I guess, coloring here and on the sides. Very comfortable mask. I haven't had the chance to use it yet, but yeah, Tim and Josh tell us that these work wonderfully. They don't fog up, and they're very comfortable. But that said, there isn't as much head protection, which kind of necessitates wearing a cap. Now, another thing that Josh was wearing was actually an OE Tech Riggers belt. You know, this is good just to have, you know, cinch your pants up so they don't fall down, which I've had that problem before. But it's also good in case you're planning on attaching, you know, a subload. If you're going to have, you know, mags on your thigh or, God forbid, a side holster or something, this is going to be a great way to attach that. But it's also a very secure belt to have on your person. Okay. Now, one of the other pieces of gear that I consider one of the most important parts of the setup are his boots. These are Under Armour Valsets boots. Now, Josh bought these a while back for some very specific reasons that basically go with the entire loadout. You know, he wants something high speed, low drag, lightweight, that's not going to get caught on things, and that's why he got the Valsette's boots. Each one of these boots by themselves is less than a pound. They are incredibly light. As you can tell by all the ventilation areas right here, they're also very breathable. Josh described them as walking on clouds of awesomeness because they're that comfortable. But the other thing that he chose these for is for the fact that a lot of the environments we play in are somewhat tan, so tan boots goes well with that, and these are definitely fitting well with his load out. Now, a few things I forgot to mention, first of which are the Proper ATAX pants. Obviously, I just said they're made by Proper. Josh is a big fan of this new ATAX camo scheme. I personally am as well. I like the Arid and Urban as well as the Foliage Green. So, big fan of the ATAX. And another thing that he's wearing right on top of these are the Hatch Extact knee pads. If you all are not familiar with these, they're very comfortable knee pads that don't normally slide up and down your knee like a lot of other knee pads on the market do, but they also have a quick attach detach system that is really awesome for airsoft because sometimes you just got to get the knee pads off. And another key feature about these is because of this X design, it makes the knee pad a lot more easily bendable or flexible, you know, when you're going in and out of combat or airsoft combat, as more so than the circular knee pads. This gives you a lot more versatility in how you would bend your knee. So that said, another feature on his gear, which I've mentioned, is the fact he's got a Bravo IFF strobe, identify friend or foe strobe. It kind of gives the gear a little bit more cool milsim feel, just more, I guess, realistic. It's not as much functional as we wish. Now he also has a bungee retention system to keep his camelback hose really close to his person, which is always nice. There's also a Condor, I guess a keychain that can attach to your molly right here. He uses that to keep his gloves on. Now another thing that is really important actually is the fact that he has a Shemagh on his person. This is a very good way to protect your neck from BB hits. It also, I think, makes you look a lot cooler. And thirdly, it's always good to have a towel. Shemaghs can be used for a variety of things in the nick of an emergency. So it's always good to have Shemagh on your person. Yeah, I think that is just about it. But we are going to move on to the gun right now and see how you think about it. Alright, so this is Josh, our Predator's gun. Now, if you can't already tell, this is a KWA SR7. It's got quite a few features externally, but even more so internally. Now, right here we've got a Viking Tactical Extreme Rail. What's great about this rail setup is that you can actually change out where the rails will be based on, we'll basically move it between all these different ports, so it's modular. Josh actually elected to go with no rails because he said that it made the gun lighter, which is technically correct. I personally prefer rails, but it's honestly a very, very comfortable rail just on your fingertips and your palms. So I got to give him credit for that. A very good choice on a rail. Now he's also got a Gemtech Black Side suppressor. Now it's actually 40% into the rail system, giving it that integrated suppressor look. And one way he was able to do that is he got a shorter outer barrel. So that gave him, like I said, the ability to get the integrated suppressor look by pushing it further into the rail. Now on the sights, we do have a Trigicon sight right here, but it actually costs just a little bit more than this entire gun setup alone. So this is mainly for marketing use. We put it on here because it looks cool. It has been taken out to line claws 11 and 10 before. Thankfully, it is still in one piece. But the sights that Josh actually uses, at least for Tim vs. Bob 3 and other games he's been to, are the flip up front and rear Mp7 sights. He specifically likes the Mp7 sights. He thinks they work very well, and I got to give him credit. I think they look cool and they work very well. That said, right here we have a Fab Defense magwell holder. Obviously, it's for comfortably holding your magwell, like so. Oop, there we go. It does look a little different. Josh may or may not take that off in the future, but I gotta say, as far as functionality, it does work as it's supposed to. Further back, we do have a G&G SOP mod stock. It is extendable, but the cool feature I really like is this cushion right here. If you're not using a full face mask, let's say you're just using goggles, this is gonna be incredibly comfortable. Right there. There goes your cheek on that thing right on top. Now, that said, we also have quick detach sling mounts right here. They can be moved on the top to the sides of the sling, sides of the stock as you see fit. A very cool feature and I think very necessary. As you can probably tell, this was built for CQB. So sadly, it does not fire under 350 feet per second. We found that out when we went to Tac City South. Josh was a bit crestfallen, but for outdoor operations, this gun performs incredibly well, right at 375 feet per second. Now, that's as much as I really should go into detail on the externals, with the exception of the fact that Josh uses these Magpul PMags for, I guess, milsim operations when he needs mid caps. Otherwise, he'll be probably using high caps just because that's more fun. And Josh is a lot of Josh is about just having fun when you're out in the airsoft battlefield. He's just there to have a good time. Now that said, I want to talk to you about the internal features of this gun. First of all, he's got a Raptor MOSFET. He's also put Siege Tech gears and he's upgraded the piston, and he also has a Lonex high torque motor, and this gun is wired to the rear. Now, one feature which I want to spend a little bit of time on is the fact that he has a Prometheus R-hopped inner barrel. Now, he actually bought this from Hunter Seeker, and what's crazy about that is that he actually talked to the person who created the R-hop, and he got that fellow to install the R-hop on this barrel personally. So that's a cool feature of this gun. Definitely has a little bit of history behind it, but overall build, this is a very functional gun. Internally, it is exceptional, and I think he's actually going to dumb it down, or at least downgrade it down to just under 350 feet per second, so he can play CQB in the future. But that said, that's going to be it for Josh, our Predator's tactical loadout, tactical gearheads. I hope you guys like this. This is definitely a different setup than most of us use, and it is very specific in its mission. So, I'm Bob the Axeman Hildebrand, and this is GITV.